Welcome to the Pint of You Podcast, where I highlight Black-owned businesses and the entrepreneurs behind them. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce Lathay Pegues, President and CEO of John Tom's Barbecue Sauce. John Tom's Barbecue Sauce is a true testament to authentic, bold, and flavorful barbecue sauce. Rooted in tradition and crafted with passion, this Black-owned brand brings a rich, smoky, and tangy taste that elements any meal. Whether you're grilling, dipping, or marinating, John Tom's delivers a mouthwatering experience that honors its heritage. It's more than just a sauce. It's a legacy of taste and quality. I'll be diving into his journey, the story behind his brand, and insights into entrepreneurship. So grab your pint and let's toast to his incredible work and vision. So Lathay, can you tell me and the viewers a little bit about John Tom's barbecue sauce and what went behind it?
So the first thing people want to know is who is John Tom?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a real person. John Tom is my grandfather. That guy on my shirt.
I like it. That's dope.
That's John Tom doing what he did. His name was John Tom Branson. Family's from Mississippi. They affectionately called him John Tom, or as they pronounced it, John Tom.
A Southern twin.
They would say, man, they was as South as you can get.
I like it.
And so they called him John Tom. So that's who John Tom is. My grandpa and his family, I think, man, it was like 11 siblings, I believe. Yeah. And they all migrated from Mississippi up north in the 1940s.
Okay.
Just looking for
that migration from the people that moved up south, like Chicago, Michigan.
Absolutely. Most of them landed in Indianapolis. A couple of brothers went on to Muncie because they had found factory jobs in Muncie, but everybody else landed in Indianapolis. And then eventually most of them ended up moving to Muncie. My grandfather brought with him from Mississippi this deep love for barbecue. He and one of his brothers, they were really into barbecue. I don't know why. I don't know what started that, but he brought that up north with him. And it didn't take long for the community to know that he was synonymous with barbecue. He worked in a foundry, and on the weekends during the summer, man, he would get up early in the morning, fire up the smoker, and barbecue, and by lunchtime, he'd be selling dinners out of his home.
Smart.
That's what he did on the weekends, man. And so he had created this barbecue sauce. So you got a barbecue guy who smokes meat and sells dinners. Well, he created a sauce to go with that. And I don't know exactly when he created that. As far back as I can remember, the sauce was always there. And so I like to say that, you have families that, they may be a basketball family where the kids play AAU and they travel, soccer families, football families. Right. I was born into a barbecue family. Like, it was really like sport for my grandpa.
But that's dope, though. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Before it became trendy, right? it was a craft, man, and he did it well. And so that's who John Tom was. I spent significant time with my grandpa because during most of my childhood, my father lived in Los Angeles. And so my grandpa kind of filled that father role.
But that's important because I think the world out there says that we don't have enough Black fathers. But those key points that you highlighted, just because your father was out doesn't mean you didn't have a positive male figure that stepped in. And I think that's important. I'm glad you highlighted on that.
Yeah. Man, my village growing up was I had great aunts, great uncles, it was such a close-knit family. So I was just surrounded by a lot of influential people in my life. And my grandpa, was kind of at the top of that list. Oh man, I was there. Unbeknownst to me, I'm soaking all this in, man. Right. I'm there when he's barbecuing. I'm there when he's, preparing ribs and taking the membrane off. I'm soaking all this up as a kid.
You seeing that?
Yeah, I see this, right? Little did I know that it would become important to me the older I got. I was 11 years old when my grandpa passed away, and I was actually one of the last people who saw him. My grandmother was in Los Angeles visiting my dad and some of our family out there, and I was staying with my grandpa because it was during the summertime. And so I was staying with him. And Saturday was a Saturday morning, and our family church was like 3 blocks around the corner. My grandpa's uncle owned our family church, and they were selling chicken dinners that morning. Okay. And I wanted to go and help out. And so I got up, got dressed. My grandpa was up, of course. And I told him, I said, hey, I'm about to go around to the church to help with the dinners. So I'll either be here or or I'll come back home. He said, okay. And those are the last words I spoke to my grandpa. Because when I was at the dinner, selling chicken dinners, my cousin came in and just grabbed me. She was crying. She just grabbed me and hugged me. What's going on?
Yeah.
So she told me to get in the church van, and we drove around to my grandpa's house, and it was cars lined up, and she told me to stay in the van, and I pretty much knew something happened to my grandpa. But he had come home and was coming up the stairs to the house and suffered a heart attack, man, and died right there in the yard. So, but, you know, I was 11, like I said, at the time. And it wasn't until, you know, things settled down that we were sitting around as a family and somebody was like, wonder if he wrote his recipe down. He never wrote his recipe down.
Wow. I know my mom, growing up, she used to have her kind of index box.
Yeah.
And also like the cue cards with all the recipes, like Christmas, Thanksgiving, recipes that passed on. And she's so happy now that my two sisters have took it upon themselves to take some of those recipes and start cooking them, whether it's the mac and cheese, the potato salad, or even the dressing was like our dressing, like that recipe, you know. And so that's dope.
Guess what? That. I got one of those. Fired by the fact my grandpa never wrote his recipe down.
Wow.
My grandmother had one of those with all the index cards and all his sauce. That's what they had.
They didn't have the computer and typing stuff up. You know, it was just write down or here by here.
Most of it was up here.
Yes, because you've been around and seen it. But that is a real black tradition right there.
It is.
Passing those recipes down and then seeing that. Because I can hear the joy in my mom's voice when my sister took it upon herself to pick up the dressing recipe. So that's something we key on. Right? It don't matter where you're from, what city or state. That is a black thing.
Yeah, no, it is. And honestly, man, when we do trade shows, we do a lot of trade shows around. And I think what resonates with people with our story, when I tell them why I got into barbecue sauce, you know, basically trying to recreate my grandfather's secret sauce based off of memory. And the more and more people I talk to, most people share a simpler story. So I'll tell them that story and they're like, I have an auntie who made this banana pudding and she never wrote the recipe down and then it just left our family. So most people can relate to my story.
And I like that because right off bat, one thing I preach about and talk about with other people, not just on the show, but people I meet, is legacy. How legacy is so important of passing those traditions, those memories down, because it's inspiration to show you like there are ways to be successful in life. I'm quite sure growing up around your grandfather, you saw him working his 9 to 5, then on the side hustle, sold food at the church, showing us another way you can make income. And as you're young, you don't think about it. But when you get older, you're like, man, I can do this. Then on the side, I can do this because you've seen it and done it. So just having those role models and people in your family, I think, is so important. I'm glad you highlighted how you had that, and that's the reason, part of one of the reasons why you are successful with John Town's barbecue sauce.
Oh, absolutely. No, all of that is important. And like you said, when you're a child, you don't know. We're just absorbing. Like we're a sponge, right? And so it's not until you become older and all the pieces start to come together.
Right.
And that foundation, you got to upgrade.
I like that. Also, can you tell me, what are you guys doing in Indianapolis and other cities that are promoting your product? Because you go to the store, you see tens and dozens of barbecue sauce. What separates John Town's barbecue sauce from the other stuff on the shelves? Can you let the people know? I know, I've tasted it. I've seen the marketing behind it, but can you let them know what separates you guys?
So you're right, man. Barbecue sauce is one of those oversaturated markets. Man, it's a million barbecue sauces out there. First and foremost, man, our differentiator, first of all, is taste. It's that simple. It's taste. Most of the business we do are with chefs. And we've had some candid conversations with chefs because chefs are creatives, man, and they like to be able to create their own concoction of whatever, right? And they're proud of that. But man, one thing, we've been very successful with landing businesses with chefs. And there's a chef very near and dear to our heart. His name is Chef Travis. Chef T, that's our guy.
Chef T.
And I asked Chef T, I said, Chef T, what's different about us? Just in your opinion, what's different about us? He said, first of all, your taste. He was like, you have a unique taste to your barbecue sauce that I've never tasted before. He said, that's number one. He said, but man, number two, your story. He said, your story it's an awesome story. So, is it barbecue sauce? Yes, it's barbecue sauce. I mean, you got a lot of barbecue sauces, and if you line them up next to each other and with no label, a lot of them taste the same. I think what I'm very proud of, what I created, man, is the fact that, like, if I take a barbecue sauce off the shelf, which I do, I sample all kinds of sauces.
Okay.
But, man, a lot of what stands out to me when I do that is there's always at least one ingredient that dominates. It just dominates the taste. You can pick it out like that. What I'm proud of.
Well, that's because you've been in the back cooking it and working with those different products. And so you can not having that.
Yeah. What I was going to say is I think all of our ingredients blend very well. There's not one thing that's, you're going to say, oh man, I take it. Yeah, that's red pepper. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just, all of our ingredients come together. And there's not one dominant taste. And that's what a lot of chefs tell us. Like the balance in our sauces is very nice. And it took me, so I have to tell this part of the story.
Go ahead. That's what this is for.
It took me almost 5 years to create this sauce. So when I was attending Indiana University, I was going to summer school one summer, and just on a day I was grilling. I was going to grill some meat. And something popped in my head, try to make a grandpa sauce. I don't know why, it just did.
Right.
And so I got a pen and pad, and I wrote down every ingredient that I remember he put in. Then I called back home to Muncie. I called my aunties and said, I'm about to try to recreate Daddy's sauce. I called him Daddy.
Okay.
And I said, here's what I got on ingredients, where there were a couple things I forgot. So my aunts told me. They was like, he put this in it. So I went to the store, bought all the ingredients, came home, just start throwing stuff in a pot. It was not good. It wasn't.
Trial and error.
Trial and error. And so, man, this hobby followed me. I graduated from IU. I moved to Quincy, Illinois, started my broadcast career, and I took that with me. And I would just get up on weekends, man, and just go and batch 10 and go at it. About 4.5 years after doing that, I came up with what is the John Tom's original. I came up with that recipe and let a few people taste it, a couple friends, my fiance at the time, who's now my wife. They tasted it, told me it was great, but I'm like, man, they're too close to me. They really don't tell me.
Make you feel good.
Exactly. So here's what I did. One weekend, I invited all my coworkers from the newsroom over. Grilled a bunch of meat, put the meat out, put a ball jar of sauce on the table, and I just grabbed me a seat in the corner and just let them eat. None of them knew I had created a sauce. They had no idea why they was at my house. They thought I was just being nice, but I was really wanting someone to speak up.
But you didn't promote it, so it was
I didn't tell them,
I like that.
This is my sauce, try it, tell me what you think. I ain't saying nothing. Finally, somebody spoke up and asked what it was and said it was the best barbecue sauce they ever had and where can they go buy it. And then everybody else started chiming in. So that's when I let them in on the fact that I invited them over just to get an honest opinion on this sauce and that I had created it.
So it was like a spectacle. Like, I'm not going to promote this. That way you can get an honest review. Like, there's no, like, I know you type of feeling behind it. Yeah. That's dope, man. I like that.
So and it happened. I was prepared. No one would say anything, that they'll just eat and just be done with it. But I sit there for a good 10 minutes. I'm just like, man, is anybody going to just speak up? And they start talking about it. And I was like, I created that. They didn't believe me.
And I think that's great that you was able to get that right away, because I think that's one thing when people are starting out or want to start their business, that they don't know if they're doing the right thing, or how do they get the feedback before they dive 10 toes in. Exactly. Is this the thing for me? Because like you said, you try it out with family members, and of course, some of them might give you constructive criticism, but they're not going to give you like, I think you should do this, because they don't want to stop your shine or see the passion that you have behind. They don't want to shut that down. They don't want to kill that. Yeah. They don't want to shut that down right away. They want to let you keep striving and keep moving forward. So that's dope that you was able to put that together and get honest reviews. And like, okay, I got something here that I can step out and do this. You are the CEO, but can you tell other people, because I know I'm one of the three of John Tom's barbecues. Can you let the viewers know who else is behind or what you guys do?
Yeah, so I have two business partners. Terrell Cooper, he's my first cousin.
Okay.
So John Tom is his grandpa. So
keep it in the family.
His mom, her brother, and sister. And so Terrell, who also went to IU, graduated with a marketing degree. And I was living in Milwaukee when I decided that I was going to turn this into a business, we lost our jobs in Milwaukee. They shut down our news operations. And so it was at that time that I decided this is the route I'm about to go. Tiro called me one weekend, just checking on me, because he knew I had lost my job. And I shared with him, I said, man, I'm about to start this barbecue sauce business. And he said, cuz, do you need help? And I said, yes, I do. And so it was just me and him, and we just started formulating ideas. And then I told him, I said, man, there's one more person I want to add to the mix. It's Rodney Robinson. He's from Indianapolis, and he went to IU. He and I went to IU together. We pledged Kappa Alpha Psi together. I was pole mark. He was vice pole mark.
Okay.
He's my best friend.
Leadership.
Man, I'm telling you. And he was a business major, so I knew his work ethic. He had a business background, and I said, man, I want to add Rodney to the mix. And so I approached Rodney with it. He tasted it and was like, I'm in. And the three of us formed like Voltron, man. Got this thing going.
I like that. And the one I like that stuff kind of just came together. And it was almost like, how can I say it?
It was divine.
Yes.
I say it all the time, man. And no one can make me believe any different. This was written. This was meant to happen. It has nothing to do with me.
Right.
God put the reins in my hands, and I was obedient. From the day that it popped in my head, try to create your grandfather's barbecue sauce. That was God.
I'm loving that.
Yeah, and the way that this business has gone, I've been convinced a long time ago. I'm not ashamed to say, man, when I left IU, I was agnostic. I was like, man, I don't know if there's a God or not. I don't care. I live life, I die. That was my attitude.
Wow.
I mean, I grew up in church, go to church 2 times a week.
That kind of threw me off, because you said growing up, you grew up in the church, but it just didn't. You just did it because that's what we do. Come Sunday or Wednesday or Thursday Bible study. That's just what we do.
I was the drummer. I was the drummer at my church. I had to be there, right? So, like, I was in church, man. My family were church goers, so that wasn't anything foreign to me. But because of my experiences through life and college, and your brain doing this, and you're exposed to other things. Yeah, I declared I was agnostic coming out of school. And one thing I tell people is that when I decided to become an entrepreneur, and I really jumped in there to become an entrepreneur, it brought me closer to God. Because, and I say it all the time, I don't see how you can do something like become an entrepreneur and not believe in something higher than yourself. Because you learn real quick. Man, I used to be the person that thought I could control all facets of my life. I had control over everything. That's what I used to think. When you become an entrepreneur, you see how little control you have over anything, right?
No matter what you're doing.
No matter what you're doing, because I'm so dependent on other moving parts to make this business grow that I cannot control. And man, if you don't have a higher, I'm not saying it has to be God, whatever, but if you don't have something higher than you, or spiritual, that you lean on, I don't even see how you can be an entrepreneur.
Man, I just want to backtrack a little bit, because a couple of things highlight what you just said. One, what stood out, first of all, that your buddy tapped in on you to see how you was doing. You lost your job, so he tapped in and said, how you doing? What's going on with you? And I think a lot of us as men sometimes don't do that. Just tap in. It don't have to be like, even if you're doing well, but maybe if you're not doing well, just tap in there and say, hey, man, what's going on with you? How your family?
Because you never know what people are going through. Most people don't expose that. They don't want you to know what they're going through. But yeah, man, Terrell, man, like I said, he's my first cousin, but he's my brother. There's a 7-year gap between us, but that was my little brother. And yeah, he was checking on his brother.
But he tapped in to see how he was doing. You told him. And then he was like, you know what? How can I help? And I think sometimes this how can I help is like, okay, I'm not in this by myself.
Because entrepreneurship is lonely, brother. Like, it's lonely. Like, people don't understand how lonely entrepreneurship is. And my 2 partners, they're still in their careers. I'm the only one to date who just stepped away from my career and went into this full time.
Wow.
Even when I moved back to Muncie to start the business, I went about a year just working the business. Well, guess what? I needed money, right? Because you start businesses, we know that you're not making money, especially in the first year. You're not making money.
I heard it's like just from reading books and reading other people, it takes 3 to 5 years before sometimes you see the success of it. Is that true?
Sometimes longer. I mean, there's no time stamp on how long it takes people longer. It takes some people shorter. I mean, because we're in the barbecue sauce business, and like I said, it's oversaturated. It's taken us a slower journey, you know, to really get to where we are today. You know, we're knocking on doors, and we already have a barbecue sauce. Or how much is yours? You know, it's like, so we've taken a slower journey, man, to get there. But yeah, I mean, it's going to take a minute for you to become profitable and start seeing some money come in.
And that's bold what you did, because I was talking to some of my other guests and then just hearing stories. Most people, they keep their 9 to 5 and then maybe do this on the side, but you just dove in.
I dove in, but like I said, after that year, and I was like, I need money. I went to our local newspaper in Muncie, and they hired me to be their online video person. So yes, John Tom's was created, but John Tom's had to sit on the back burner because I had to work.
Right.
And so I started working for the paper, and I was there 7 years, and just kind of really just honestly treating John Tom's like a hobby and not like a business until it came to a head, man. We were starting to see the writing on the wall, what was going on in journalism. It wasn't looking good, and we were really forced out of there. And so I took a buyout, and that's when I decided, here I go.
Put the money into...
I'm about to sink or swim. I'm about to leave the paper. I'm about to leave my career for good, and I'm about to jump into John Tom's full time. And at that point, bro, we didn't account. Like, we were still trunk hustling.
Okay.
Right? The only account we had at that time was Rick's Boatyard. And we were literally delivering sauce to them out of our car.
Wow.
That was it. So when I decided to leave the paper, that was the only account we had. So you talking about scary. That's the scariest thing. That was even scarier than moving back to Muncie and starting a business. When I finally said, I'm leaving my career and I'm about to go in this full time. But I'm telling you what, man, it put some fire under my butt.
Everything you said, I think, is dope, because, and you dropped in gems to people out there that's watching, is because, one, you said you had people surrounding you that saw your vision of where you wanted this to go. So that's good, because some people just dive in, they have that I can do it myself kind of attitude, but you have that I need help doing this. Yeah. And I think that's great. But also, you had the emphasis of, like, if I'm going to do this, I have to have some inspiration behind why I'm doing it, and you had the faith. And sometimes that may not be for people, but whether it's a quote or a book or something that motivates you every day to get up and do this. And I'm glad you highlighted on that, because some people, like, today's Tuesday, this is not for me, and then that can drag on. But you had that inspiration and faith, like, this is divine, like, it's meant to be. And I'm glad you highlighted on those gems, because some people, they don't feel like they can do this or whatever career path they've chosen, and they need some type of motivation each day, because you're going to hit those walls of where you don't feel like maybe this isn't it. Can you highlight on some of the walls that you faced? Because you said right out back you only had one account, and you're like, well, I got the faith that this is going to work. Can you highlight on some of the walls that you faced besides that?
Man, look, ask me how many nights I've gone to bed staring at the ceiling, like, how am I going to pay mortgage tomorrow? How am I going to pay gas tomorrow? Bro, I done had so many of them nights. And that's when your faith gets tested, right? Because I done questioned God so many times. Like, God, I really feel like you told me to do this. And here I am, I got 3 kids, a wife. I can't pay mortgage tomorrow. And, bruh, every time it happens, they will pay my mortgage. Man, bruh, I'm not sitting here preaching. I'm telling you what happened to me. This is what happened, and this is what has happened. And you talk about motivation. Leave your career with a family that you got to take care of. Walk away from your career.
I don't think anybody can.
Bruh, let me tell you about motivation, because you got to take care of that family. Man, that was all the motivation I needed. So immediately after I quit my job, I took the buyout at the paper, I reached out to Ball State University, to the executive chef. Now, I had been talking to this dude like 2 years, trying to get business. So I called him. I said, Chef, hey, it's Lathay, man. I said, I got an update for you. I said, man, I just left my job at the paper. You did? Yeah, man. So I'm doing John Tom's full time. I need this account. Like, how can I get into Ball State? So, man, I think he appreciated the fact that, like, dang, this dude just left his career. So he opened up to me and told me why I hadn't been able to get an account with Ball State. He said, you don't have a distributor. He said, we do all business with distributors. I said, well, how do I get a distributor? And he's like, well, they're out there. So I guess I pulled on his heartstrings. I said, man, I wish y'all were set up to where 95% of your business you do with distributors, but you leave 5% open for guys like me who just want an opportunity. So he said, Lathay, I got an idea. I'm going to call you back. So dude calls me back like an hour. He said, I just went and talked to my staff. He said, what we're going to do is we're going to reach out to one of our distributors. We're going to tell them about you and that we want to use you, but you don't have a distributor. We'll promise to buy so many cases from them a year, and we'll see if they're interested.
Wow.
He called me back, and he said, hey, it's done. He said, be expecting a call from Piazza Produce, and they're going to get you set up. Bruh, let me tell you, I was at home by myself. I walked around that house screaming, crying, praising God. Because, man, this was like weeks from when I walked away from my career. And I needed something. I needed something big to happen to reassure myself I had just...
say, won't you do it?
Won't he do it? I needed something to reassure myself I had made the right decision. And, bruh, once we got a distributor, account here, account there, account there, account there. Just from that.
And those are highlights and gems that some people that's trying to start their business may not know. You reached outside your comfort zone. You was like, you know what? Or this didn't stay in a box of people you know, but you also highlight it's good to network.
Yeah.
Network people who you don't even know. And then you took that mentorship because you said distributor? Like, how do I go about doing this?
I know nothing about distributors.
Getting that knowledge and reaching out. And I think a lot of people feel like, I can just Google this and know how to do it. But you went kind of old school, one-on-one approach and got that knowledge, and that ended up being like 1,000 for you.
Man, let me tell you, relationships are everything.
Talk about it.
Bruh, we've been doing this since 2006. A lot of what's happening right now in our business is because of seeds we planted maybe in 2007, 2008, 2009. Plant those seeds. You don't know when they're going to blossom. You have no idea. But plant the seeds. Let God take care of nurturing and blossoming.
I see you.
But, man, relationships are everything. So, man, let me really get into it. So, we went from trunk hustling, just selling loose bottles to anybody who would buy them, to now we are in Lucas Oil Stadium. We're in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. We were in Motor Speedway. We're back in talks of getting back in the Motor Speedway. The only reason we're not is because they changed food service providers. We're Indianapolis Zoo, Indiana Convention Center, Notre Dame Athletics, Purdue Athletics, IU Athletics, Ball State, of course. Just last year, we crossed some borders, man, and Nissan Stadium. We're in the Music City Center, which is the convention center in Nashville. And, man, a couple hundred restaurants, over 100 grocery stores.
Wow.
All based off relationships. And what happens, man, and, like, what we saw working, it was like, that's the lane we need to play in. I talked about these chefs. One thing about the chef community is it's very tight-knit. Chefs know each other all over. The reason they know each other because they move around and around and around and around. And so we just got Fisher's Event Center. The reason we got Fisher's Event Center is because the chef who brought us in at the Indianapolis Zoo got hired by the Fisher's Event Center to open that up.
Wow.
So when he went to Fisher's Event Center, he said, I'm bringing John Tom's here. We got that account. The reason why we got the Colts account is because a lady who worked at Notre Dame got hired at Lucas Oil. So Lucas Oil was like, hey, no, we're not using that. We're using John Tom's.
You talk about blessings on blessings on blessings. That's what I see that's happening right there. Everything that you're talking about, man.
You got to do the work. If you do the work and God got you, he's going to do the rest. Do the work. You know, I never let an opportunity get away from me to meet somebody. Or, man, you got to seize those moments. If I'm in the same space as somebody that I need to talk to, I'm walking right up to them, you know, and introducing myself. I'm not going to bug you, but I'm going to give you my elevator pitch. I'm going to give you my business card and say, I'd like to talk to you. And, you know, and that's how things happen.
I'm loving it because you're showing how relationships are important in the business field. You know, people that you may meet in that grocery store or at a special event, and how you connecting with this one person can be a tree branch to connecting with someone else, and that can lead to someone else, and it just blossoms after that.
Yeah, you got to protect that brand. You got to make sure your brand is legit, though. You know, there's things you have to do on your end because, you know, a lot of people are going to vet you to see if, you together, or if we start using them, they supply, can they supply us? Can they keep up? So you got to make sure that your house is in order.
Okay.
But if you do that, man, and then another thing that I try to tell young entrepreneurs, man, you have to have instant likability.
Instant likability?
Instant likability. If someone instantly likes you, you got their attention. And this lady, last year, me and my partners, we went to Chicago to meet with the lady that we had been doing business with. Man, we just created the best relationship with this lady. And she was like, I need to meet y'all in person. So, man, we made a trip to Chicago, went, kicked it with her, had dinner, man, and just really solidified that relationship. And when we got back to the hotel, it was all kind of people in the lobby hanging out in the hotel. So we pull up to the bar, have a couple drinks, and we just started engaging with people. There's this white lady sitting next to me. She said, what do you guys do? So I start telling her. She said, y'all are going to be successful. You know why? I said, why? She said, you guys have instant likability. She said, it's easy to like you. And so I really grabbed on to that nugget because before she said that, man, I knew we had something, that there was something about us that people gravitate to, but I just couldn't put it into words. Those two words, instant likability.
But you talked about that also with your grandfather, because you're saying when he moved to the community, people just knew him.
Yeah.
Like he was just that guy that stood out among the rest. And so, like you say, those seeds were already planted inside of you of how to care about yourself, how to walk the walk, talk the talk. So it was just in you. That goes, again, what we talked about earlier as far as like that mentorship, that someone in your family, that leadership that you see, and you just, you follow what they do. And so you had it, but just hearing it from someone else, it just like, man, this is us.
It made you realize what
this is us.
I took so many cues from my grandpa, man. I took so many cues from my grandpa, man. He was instantly likable. He was funny, he didn't talk a whole lot, but man, if you sit and talk to my grandpa, man, he gonna drop gems on you and he gonna have you cracking up. Right. He's a funny dude, man. So he was just very likable. So yeah, I took a lot of cues from him.
And that's good because I think when you're saying you gotta have a good product, you gotta have
first and foremost.
Yes.
But you know what? There's some bad products out there that are very successful. I mean, there are.
Yeah.
There are. I mean, but to have a good product, that's an advantage. Right? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, but what you're saying, like, you have a good product, label behind the marketing, but the people behind it. Because when I first started talking to you for this interview, I could just see the smile on your face. The passion behind it. It was like stars in your eyes. So, when you talk to someone, they can see it. So it's not like you're just giving them a speech that you wrote down or something like, okay, when I meet someone, I'm going to say X, Y, and Z, and this is but they can see it behind you. They can see the passion. Like, man, this guy, not only does, he said he has a good product, I can just hear it from his voice and see it.
Let me tell you about Chef T.
Bring it.
This is what he'll do to me. So Chef T is, first of all, is out there campaigning for us, and we don't even know it. So Chef T will just randomly call me. A couple years ago, I'm at work. Chef T was like, Lathay, what are you doing right now? I said, well, I'm at work. He said, I need some sauce immediately. He said, I'm at the Coach practice facility. He was like, can you drive down here? Or is Rodney available to bring me some sauce? Or I said, no, Coach practice facility. So I already know what he's doing. He's there evangelizing us, right? So I'm like, nah, I got this, Chef T. What you need? He said, can you get me some sauce here within the hour? I said, I'm on my way. I get to the practice facility. He meets me at the dock, takes me in, and takes me into the kitchen. There's 3 people in there. One's the executive chef, and then a couple other of his colleagues. Chef T introduces us, and then he says, tell him the story.
Reel him in.
Said, tell him the story. And he's done me like that a couple times. And he knows how powerful our story is, but he also knows when I tell the story, I reel him in. So that's all he needed some sauce for them to taste, but he really needed me there to tell the story.
The glow behind it.
Yeah. And so
it's almost like the Last Dragon. Like,
show up.
Yeah, exactly. And you see the glow behind it, like it's there. Like you're talking and you're glowing at the same time. And I saw that because as soon as you started talking, it was just like an immediate smile on your face. You was telling the sad part about your grandfather, but it was like joy behind it at the same extent. That's dope. Like, for people that don't know, that haven't heard your story, like everything that you said, whether they're starting out a business or thinking of a product, they can hear it in your voice like, man, I have a story too, but how can is it in me? And am I, when I talk about it, do they see that in me? Or is it just I'm just doing it for the money? But you is one is your joy behind what you do and you're successful at it, and that goes a long way besides just doing it for the money.
I talk to a lot of young entrepreneurs, especially in my community, man, they reach out to me and can I pick your brain? Can I talk to you? And I never turn down those opportunities. Man, I have talked to so many people who are just so motivated by money. And here's what I share with you. Money is a byproduct. If you're doing something for the right reasons, if you're doing the right things, money's going to come. Money is a byproduct of you doing something well. Good. If you go into something and money is your only priority, you're probably doomed from the start because that's what's motivating you. So when I tell my story and you see me light up, it's because I am talking about.
This is bright, but
I'm telling you about I get to tell you about my grandpa and how passionate he was with something and how he passed that passion down to me. I didn't know it at the time. Bro, I get to share that. And why I started a business wasn't like, oh, I'm going to take this barbecue sauce and I'm going to become a millionaire. Money had nothing to do with it. Now, do I want to make money and need to make money? Absolutely. Or I better get out of business real quick. Okay? But what I tell these young people, man, money is only a byproduct. And if you're doing it right, doing the right things, money's coming. That's inevitable.
Dropping gems for y'all out there. Money is a byproduct. I like that. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Hey, man, I'm not going to sit here and act like I created that. Somebody dropped that gem on me. Somebody dropped that gem on me a few years ago.
I like also that you said young entrepreneurs are reaching out to you and asking your guidance because you see so many people that, well, they don't want to give you the playbook. You got to pay for the playbook. And people are just reaching, and you dropping them free because you've had to go through it. You're like, let me help this young entrepreneur navigate those roads because I had to face that and it set me back. Let me help him overcome that. And I'm glad that you are telling people like, reach out to someone because they can give you knowledge that you may not have. And sometimes you can get free knowledge. Sometimes you may have to pay for it, but you are willing to give that free knowledge. And I think that's such a bright thing because some people don't feel like when people come to them, they're like, okay, how can I get something from them? You're like, I'm just giving you knowledge and I may not see it right away. Then you're going to become successful. And like you say, those relationships, who knows where this person might go. And because I'm giving him free knowledge, helping him or she along the way, they might go do this and they reach, hey, I'm doing this. Can we use you to do this? Those relationships. Everything you're saying right now is so, like, I'm starting out on my podcast, but you are letting people know, like, build those relationships, that community, because who knows where it might go.
Right. And just do it because it's the right thing to do.
Man, there you go.
I'm not trying to gatekeep. I'm not, and I hear that from a lot of young people, man. They're like, the older people seem like they're gatekeeping and they don't want to share information. Here's the thing. I can't hand you over a playbook because my playbook is not going to work for anybody else. My playbook only works for me. Now, what I can do is I can give you a few plays out of my playbook to avoid some of the hardships that I went through that if I wish I would have known, I wouldn't have to go through that. Or, hey, watch out for this. Or here's, that's what I can give you. But man, I've had people with a barbecue sauce. I've had them reach out to me.
Wow.
Some people may look at it like, well, I'm not going to create a competitor, and not talk to them, but I'll talk to them and be like, hey man, this is what you want to look out for, be really serious about this. And, and I'm very candid and honest about the struggle and what it's going to take. A lot of times when I get done telling them, they're like, think about this, because they only see the highlights, man. Yeah, they only see the highlights, and I'm just like, okay, well, here are the lowlights. Let me share those with you too, because I will be doing you a disservice if I didn't.
Right.
And so, man, you share them lowlights, and they're like, but then they have to take that and do what they will.
Man, I'm so glad we had this interview because everything that you have told me, I didn't know. And it was like more of an insight behind you, your family, the legacy, and the passion behind it. And for people that want to start something, don't just do it for the money. Have a reason behind it because, like you say, those things will eventually come because you're going to face those hardships, those roads that don't seem like you can get out of. But if you have a passion behind it, a love for what you're doing, and a reason behind what you're doing that makes you can get up each day, you dropped all that right now. It's sort of like an ABC of when you're starting out, like, don't just do it for the money.
Yeah. And stick with it. I mean, sticking with it. I mean, if you're passionate about it, you're gonna stick with it. Man, I'm telling you, like when I finally, I don't know how much time we have, but even when I left the newspaper and was say, I'm about to do this. I'm about to do this full time. What I did is found me a part-time job. Okay, here's what a lot of people aren't willing to do either. Right now, I have a job where the entire community knows who I am. I work for the local newspaper. I do online videos, broadcast staff. Everyone knows who I'm on billboards around the city. People know who I am. When I leave the paper, I immediately reached out to this guy I knew. He owned a grocery store in downtown Muncie. It's an organic grocery store. Because I said, I need at least a part-time job where I can have time to work to grow this business, but I also can make a little money, to support my family. I reached out to him and was like, hey, I need a job. And he was like, you want to work for me at the grocery store? I said, I need a job. I need a part-time job. So his mind just starts going like, oh my God, like all the stuff I can do with you, So I start working there. Bro, I'm fixing sandwiches. I'm checking out grocery. I'm mopping, sweeping. I'm filling shelves. I'm working at a grocery store. People will come in there and literally, I'll be checking them out. Aren't you Lathay Pegues? Yeah, no disrespect, but where are you doing work? And that's what a lot of people are not willing to do because of pride, because of whatever. But I worked there for a year and it was time for me to go. And me and my partners, we settled on a salary for me. And let me tell you, it's not a big salary at all. But it was a salary that I could leave that grocery store job and put all of my time in this.
That's dope.
And it took me a while, and I was robbing Peter to pay Paul, and I'm doing little side hustles. I'm delivering grocery for Walmart, and I'm doing wedding videos on the bruh. A lot of people not willing to do that. But I did that until I can increase my salary to the point where it's like, okay, well, I don't have to do that now. Now I can devote all my time in the John time. So
I mean that is key because you was able to humble yourself and like you say that P word, that pride. I think men and women we all have that. But you was like you had an end goal behind it and not just like, okay, I gotta humble myself just a little bit, but you had a goal or whatnot, and that made you like, okay, I can do this and this will support this. So it wasn't just like you just did it just to do it. But you had a goal and you was able to humble. Like you say, not many people are willing to do that.
People are not willing to sacrifice and go without, man. Like, can you go without the Jordans? Can you go without the trips? Can you go without, you know what I'm saying? Like, can you go without those things?
Those small sacrifices.
Can you sacrifice those things? And man, my family has had to sacrifice. I mean, they've had to go without. But thank God, man, I raised my kids. They are just, man, they're the best kids, man. They really are appreciative of, and they get what I'm trying to do, right? They get what dad is trying to do. And so, no, they couldn't always have the best this and the newest this and the newest, but man, they never complain. They just let dad do because I told them, I said, when this gets where daddy wants it to go, I'm paying y'all back. Y'all getting it back.
Right.
It's just a little delayed gratification, man.
And just you talk about the relationship that you have with your kids and them seeing that, like you say, you passed on that legacy, that knowledge, how to create something, how to do something, but the love and passion. And not only that, you carry that love and passion in your business, it resonates in your family. And I think that's beautiful. That's not important, but to me, that's just beautiful.
My daughter told me she's a sophomore at IU, and she's getting a degree in corporate advertising. And just a few weeks ago, and man, so she's down there soaking up all of this knowledge. Whenever she has a project, she uses John Tom's. So she just said to me a few weeks ago, Dad, this summer, I need to work for John Tom. She said, I got so many ideas. I got so much. And I'm like, let's get it going. So there's the next generation who sees the importance of this and is going to apply all the knowledge that she has that I don't have, and be able to bring that to
And that's also though, because you saying your daughter is doing it, I feel like sometimes people get in business and it's successful and like everything is going good and we don't need to change anything, but your daughter, she may come with some new ideas.
Oh yeah.
I haven't thought about that. Yeah. Because just like technology, the new generation way of doing things. And you said, just like you said earlier, like, you don't get in your pride, you humble yourself. Let me bring this person in because it's going to take us somewhere that I haven't thought about taking us. I'm loving that, man. I'm loving that. So to keep with the tradition of the podcast, viewers, the guests can have either some alcohol or ice cream. And Lathay has chosen ice cream to have, so I'm going to go ahead and get that. So Lathay has decided to go with Cherry Cordell, and we're doing private selection by Amaretto, Cherry Cordell, private selection, and Ben & Jerry's Cherry Garcia.
Yeah, one of my favorite flavors.
So you've already...
You
already
that's why I said that's
I'm not a cherry guy, but I'm going to give it... I love chocolate. So cherry and chocolate. Okay. Good combination.
Well, that's good.
That's a good... Yeah.
Especially if you like cherries.
Yeah.
You get a nice chunk of cherries in there.
Ooh, I'm seeing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try this other one. You put me
just
on
the Ben & Jerry's.
Yeah, Ben & Jerry's Cherry Garcia. I'm kind of like the Amaretto one.
Mm-hmm.
More cherry flavor behind that. The ice cream is cherry. Yeah, I'm gonna roll with the Amaretto if I have to pick one.
Yeah.
Amaretto.
They've got more flavor.
Put me on. So, in the podcast, we play the Black Stripes game. So basically, I'm gonna ask you 5 questions that are relevant in the black community. Everyone probably knows.
So I can lose my black card in this situation right here.
I'm not putting it out there. I'm not putting it out there.
All right. Hit me with them.
I know you're going to go 5 for 5. New Element Barbershop, he got all 5.
Pressure's on.
Yes. Homes with Love, she got 3 out of 5. Okay. So it's kind of a high-low where you want to try
So I can't be getting 2 out of 5. Hit me with them.
Okay. We're going to go with a softball first. What does FUBU stand for?
For us by us.
Okay. There we go. 1 for 1. All right. The second one, who's the king of pop?
Michael Jackson.
Okay, there we go.
There's my 2.
Okay. So we have slangs in our community. So what does it mean when someone says you got hands?
You can scrap. You can
fight.
fight.
There we go. Look at you. All right. What 90s movie featured Kid and Play?
House Party.
Okay.
Class Act.
Look at you. Okay.
So I get extra credit for Class Act.
Okay. All right. So one. Who wrote and sang the song "I'm Black and I'm Proud"?
Same brand.
5 for 5. 5 for 5.
Got my black card. I was so secure.
So before we end the interview, do you want to give any of your social media platforms or ways that people can reach out to you, whether they want to network, you want to give those to us?
Yeah. You can reach us at info on email, info@johntomsbbq.com. That's JOTOMSBBQ.com. And that will actually get distributed to all of us. So someone's going to see your email.
Okay.
Our website is www.johntomsbbq.com. We're at John Tom's BBQ on social media.
Reach out to you.
We are we're on Amazon. So wherever you are, you can get on Amazon and purchase, or you can buy. We have a Shopify account too, so you can go on our website, johntomsbbq.com, and buy directly from there if you don't buy on Amazon.
Okay.
So yeah,
I'm loving that. Okay. Well,
and also we are we're in like 45 Kroger stores in Indiana, north to south. We're in some Fresh Times. We're out there. If you go to the grocery stores, though, there's a specialty section. So most people go to the barbecue sauce section. We're not there. There's a specialty section in these select stores that sell all Indiana products.
Wow.
So that's where we are.
Okay. I'm loving that. Thanks for dropping them gems, people. Okay. I'm loving that. That's a wrap for the episode of Pint of You. Thank you, Lathay and John Tom's Barbecue Sauce. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your family, friends, and community. Let's continue to support Black-owned businesses and celebrate our culture, one pint at a time. Stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, keep building, keep creating, and keep thriving. See you later.